The Chainwheel Diaries podcast is produced and hosted by Brian Bartley Berlin. Copyright Brian Bartley Berlin, all rights reserved. Available on Apple and Spotify. Welcome to episode 10 of the Chainwheel Diaries podcast. Stories about bike travel told by the travelers themselves. I'm your host, Brian Berlin. Today's episode features an interview with Greg Frisliie, former bike shop owner and 50-something bicycler, who along with his friend Adam Kidd will participate in the inaugural Great American Wheel Race, which kicked off today, June 9, 2024. The Great American Wheel Race is a self-supported bike event of 3,600 miles from Seattle to Washington, D.C., and utilizes a mixture of rails to trails, gravel, and paved paths and roadways. Greg tells us about what attracted him to this event and the charity Small Miracles he will support through his participation. And now, on to the show. Welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
In a few weeks, you're going to ride your bike from Seattle, Washington to Washington, D.C. in an event called the Great American Wheel Race.
Yes.
Not to oversimplify, but it seems like it's a cross-country bike tour with a deadline.
Yeah, we can look at it like that. I don't even know if there's a deadline, to be honest. There's a couple different divisions that are in this. So there is actually just a touring division. And I think there's a cyclist that's going to have her husband or a friend or somebody following behind her in a motorhome. So I think her goal is to do like 50 miles a day and take however long it takes.
And this is the inaugural occurrence of this event. And so let's start off by telling me everything you know about this event and how you came to discover it. And let me add that, typically I'm talking to bicyclers who travel and tell their stories. And this is going to be, you're going to be a bicycler who travels. You're just going to have a little bit of more motivation with it. But tell me everything you know about the event, other than what I could find on the website.
So I turned 53 this year, this last August, and I kind of reached this point where I was like, I think I need to do something that's a little, bigger than sitting on the couch or just going out on a 50-mile bike ride around Wenatchee, Washington, where I live. And I've always wanted to ride across America, but I just didn't really have the time. And I have some free time now, and I thought, I'm going to do this. And so in looking around, some different types of events that go on that are like this, I found this. And what intrigued me about the Great American Wheel Race is it's mainly focused on back roads and rail trails. And so I guess I kind of fell into it, not really even knowing, well, what's one of the benefits of a rail trail? There's no super steep elevations, as far as the rail trail goes. Trust me, when we get out of Idaho or into Idaho, Western Montana, and then even parts of South Dakota, there's going to be some elevation days that are going to be crazy. And so I'm a little nervous about that, but I'll, just take it day by day and pedal by pedal. But, no, I came across this last fall. I reached out to Eric Taylor. He and Curtis Lane are the race directors, and I talked to Eric quite a bit on the phone. And I think Eric's 62 or 3 or something, and he's doing it. He's like, you've got nothing to lose. Just sign up for this thing and come, be part of the journey. And I really just kind of like hook, line, and sinker. After the more I thought about it, my wife's like, do it. You got to do it. And so I've done some bike packing before. I have some friends that are very gifted in this arena of bike pack racing, and I also called and spoke to them and kind of got some feedback on what they thought, and they're like, "You got to do it." So that's how I'm here. I mean, really, it definitely got me motivated. About November, I started to, get on Zwift and do my, started out, I think, at about an hour and a half a week. And I was adding 15 minutes every week. And I'm up to like 7.5 hours, 7.5 hours now a ride. And I say I kind of am around because I'm supposed to be adding 15 minutes every week as far as my plans. But I rode 11.5 hours on Thursday and 9.5 the day before. So it's not perfect science, but I did a kind of a long overnight bike packing little practice. So
A
out
little
here.
shakedown ride.
Yeah, yeah.
I went on the website and I found a couple of rules which I thought were interesting. The first is you are responsible for finding food, water, lodging, bike services, and anything else you may need along the way. I thought, okay, that describes riding your bike across the U.S., self-supported, and yes, you are responsible for all of that.
Yeah.
The other was no drafting, a 50-foot rule. I don't think there'll be anybody within 50 feet of you. Greg, do you?
Well, yeah, there will be. Actually,
Okay.
I've made a friend, um, and I know the 50 feet rule. I think if you're 10 feet away, you're okay from not drafting. But um, I did triathlon for quite a stint, and definitely no drafting in that as well. But no, Adam, kid, he is based out of Surprise, Arizona, and I met him through signing up for this race. And my wife and I, spend some time in Phoenix, and so I reached out to Adam, and we've been riding together and kind of coordinating some things. And actually, we'll probably do the majority of the trip together through
Okay.
it. He brings some benefits. He's very mechanical. I like to sell stuff. So my hands don't have a lot of calluses, and he loves working on stuff. So there's going to be some benefits, and um, not that he's not positive, but I'm a pretty positive person, so I'll bring some benefits maybe there with some good outlooks and good conversation. But yeah, we're looking forward to it. But yeah, no, I mean we're going 3,600 miles, um, and I think most of these types of races go west to east because typically the winds travel east. So hopefully, the wind is going to be our draft.
Yeah, I think a tailwind would really make some of these days go by a little bit better. Um, what are you writing? I think everybody's curious about, how do you, what's your configuration for a ride like this? Since you're going to be trying to cover great distances in a single day.
Yeah, so I have a salsa cutthroat.
Okay.
I bought during COVID. It's actually my third cutthroat. It's my second favorite bike that was made, and the Warbird, which is made by Salsa, is the number one. It has brazons all over, so I can put my tent and if I'm going to need the tent and a emergency bivy, and I'll have a sleeping bag liner. I mean, I'm going to try to minimize the overnight type stuff because we really are going to try to ride hotel to hotel or bed and breakfast or knock on a door if we're in an area where we're in a heavy wind or a downpour or something like that. I think from the research I've done, most people in the small farming communities are open arms if you have a story. And so we're depending on that. It'll make it more of an adventure. We were going to book out all of our hotels. And the other day I started to feel a little bit anxious about it. And I'm just like, let's not do that. And Adam's like, yeah, the adventure is lost when you are now going from town to town, expected to get there on time. And I assume we'll find a lake somewhere in the middle of the day, and it'll look inviting to go for a swim. So that's kind of, it's a race. It's also a journey and a ride, and whatnot. So yeah, I've got I'll have three different bibs with me, chamois bibs and jerseys. We'll do a lot of laundry, every 3 nights or every two days. We'll be eating out of convenience stores and grocery stores and local diners. I've been kind of working in some different types of nutrition than what I would typically do just on my road bike, where you can just, grab something out of your cupboard and fill it up. I actually found chocolate milk has been kind of my favorite. So I'll tell you, if you haven't tried chocolate milk and you're going on a ride that's longer than a few hours, and you're good with milk, try chocolate milk. It has been amazing for keeping me like going without feeling weak and kind of tired.
The millions of hydration vendors that may hear this are probably going to have a minor heart attack based on the fact that they're selling millions of dollars worth of hydration supplements, and you just nailed them with the cheapest possible supplement ever, chocolate milk, which can be had just about almost anywhere,
Yeah.
and is not very expensive. And so I appreciate that, Greg. That's a good comment.
Yeah. Yeah. It's cheap. It's really been a staple for people using it as recovery drink right at the end of a ride or a workout, to drink some chocolate milk. It restores a lot of, parts and pieces in your body. And I'm like, well, what the heck? I mean, it's at every convenience store known to man, with the exception of North Spokane, because I was visiting my mom for Mother's Day and just last weekend, and I went for a long ride and the convenience store didn't have chocolate milk. I'm like, what? So I went to Gatorade. That works good too.
Sure it does. North Spokane, you heard, call your distributor. You need to stock up on chocolate milk. People are going to
Right.
be looking for it.
Yeah.
So you're riding basically kind of a gravel setup, and you're going to be hoteling along the way. And I get what you're saying about booking those in advance, because I interviewed a friend of mine that I did a bike tour with, and he said that he had booked he had planned his route meticulously and reserved all his hotels in advance. And then he found out that there were days when he could have gone many more miles. He had plenty left in the tank, and yet he was stuck with a hotel reservation. So I'm tending to think you're going to try and go as far as you possibly can. Take your luck on finding accommodations, whether they be, somebody putting you up for the night or letting you camp in their backyard, or Motel 6 or something else. I think that's very wise. Otherwise, I think you limit yourself, and you might kind of hurt your overall mileage by cutting it short.
Yeah. I'm starting to buy into that theory a lot more. And, there's a couple days, the goal is to do this in 29 days. And so we've adjusted a little bit because we're going to try to be in Washington, D.C. to watch the fireworks on July 4th. Race starts on July 9th. So that would have put us there in 25 days, 26 days.
Yeah.
But we kind of added 3 more days onto that. There's 2 days, if we kind of have it gauged out where we think that, we're going to be in certain places. I don't want to totally, share that stuff, but there is South Dakota area, the Crow Indian Reservation there, and it's pretty desolate. And so there's day about 10 and 11 that are big days to get any types of services. So there's a couple like 150-mile days, with one day is like 6,000 feet of climbing. The other day is like 9,800. So those are big days, and I can do it. I'm just not real excited about it. So
Hill climbing is 90% mental. That's for sure.
I think so. I think, I learned not to look up at the hill. You look down at your front tire and you can't see a hill. You can feel it, but I'm running a 52 and single chain ring on the front, but a 52, I mean, it's like a massive, I can eat, a steak off of this chain ring. So I can pedal pretty fast and not go very far, but it's not very hard, just time consuming.
Are there any rest days? Have you put any rest days into this? No, none whatsoever.
Nah,
Well,
but
that sends chills up and down my spine right there. But
Yeah, I think the rest days will be like the 115-mile days. Those are days. There's a couple, and one of them is a day that we have kind of scoped out. It's got 400 feet of climbing, and I think we're going to do 125 miles or something. So,
Sure.
those, last week, when I rode those two rides, I felt pretty good. At the end of the day, I was frustrated on the second day because of the terrain, and I'm frustrated about the way that Washington State manages the Eastern Washington, uh, Palouse, Cascades to Palouse Trail. I think they could do better, and I'm probably going to mention something when I'm done with the race about it. There's locked gates and rocks all over and whatnot. So I certainly hope that the rest of the country has it together a little better. Now in Western Washington, you go from North Bend and you head over to Ellensburg, which is in the center of the state. It's phenomenal. The trail is fantastic, and it really wouldn't take that much to, get it to that. And we need to. So
Yes, I
yeah,
agree.
yeah,
So it says that the route utilizes the Great American Rails Trails. I'm a big supporter of the Rails Trails organization. I think that's great. They have about, I think, 50,000 miles that are completed, and they're trying to finish it and have a complete rail trail system, converting old railroad rights of way to these bike trails. The beauty of it is that there are no cars.
yeah,
It's only bicycles. And then otherwise, if not on a Great American Rail Trail, you'll be on other bike trails and probably some back roads, some country roads. Um, Seems pretty exciting to me. I think what you're going to, the scenery, even though you'll be zipping along, I think the scenery will be pretty impressive, and you're going to see a lot of it. You're going to see
yeah.
a great swatch of these great United States.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking forward to that. And you know, 12 and a half miles an hour or something is, 13 miles an hour. We'll be able to see a lot more than when I'm on my road bike. Not that I'm that much faster, but definitely you're going with a whole different kind of thought process for sure.
Let's talk about small miracles.
Oh yeah.
Part of this is going to be you're going to be fundraising for a charity. Tell me about that. Tell me how you got involved with them and why you're connecting them to this event.
Yeah, so we were actually in the bike industry back. We sold our store about 3, 4 years ago now in Wenatchee. Here, we were Trek retailers, and we always looked for cool, um, foundations or nonprofits to support because I think that's important for small business and just people in general. And there was a particular one of the Dutch Bros franchisee in town, and I are pretty good friends, and we did a lot of collaboration things together. And Small Miracles was one that always piqued our interest. They feed kids that are on reduced lunch programs or low income during summer. And I grew up on a reduced lunch program, sometimes free, sometimes 35 cents or whatever, so it's near and dear to me. I mean, other people fed me, whether it was the state or the neighbors. I don't know how they ended up paying for the programs in school, but last year they served about 15,000 meals during the summertime around the Wenatchee Valley. So you may have heard of Leavenworth, Washington. That's a little German town that's just north of Wenatchee here, about 25 miles into Chelan and Wenatchee, East Wenatchee, kind of this whole north central Washington area. They have about 15 different places that they set up during the weekdays for the kids to come into the parks. They get fed and they go home because a lot of the kids won't eat during the summer. They might have one meal a day, and maybe it's cereal in the morning, or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich at night. So it really is a good nutritious type of a meal, and they get to connect with other kids and kind of make friends and whatnot. So they've been around since 2011. My I kind of was thinking about how to do this, and I thought, gosh, it would be kind of fun we said, hey, can you donate a penny a mile? 3,600 miles, it's $36, and it'll do 36 bucks will do 10, 12 meals for kids.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just about, I kind of wanted to talk to you first, and I haven't put it out on Facebook or anything yet. And I really even haven't told many people what I'm doing other than Strava, because people are wondering if I've lost my mind. So I've mentioned it a few times, why I'm putting on so many miles and whatnot. But yeah, I'm excited to see how people react to it. I would think it would be really neat uh, to kind of have a blow up and really, a lot of people. So uh, to give to it. They also help seniors. So some of the seniors that are low income can come in and have meals too. So it's the whole gamut.
Well, count me in. I think that's fantastic that you're, including that in this event. I think it gives you uh, the sense that this is more than about you. It's about a lot of other things, and I think that's a great place to put your mindset when you're undertaking an event like this to include others. So I applaud you on that. All right. So as we spoke before, what I'd like to do, and I don't know how we're going to do it, but what I'd like to do is catch up with you at some point during this event, even
Okay.
though you're going to be chugging away, racking up the miles on a daily basis. But if possible, and you're in a place where you've got connectivity and you've got a little bit of time, I would love to interview you again and get your takes on the event so far, what you've experienced um, in the early stages before you get to the end of the race, and maybe a couple of times in between. But
Okay.
I'll let you figure out how we can make that happen.
Okay.
But I would love to get an update on your progress. I think this is truly amazing. I like that you picked something that's going to really motivate you and force you to make it real. Um, in other words, you got to do it. You've
Yeah.
talked yourself into it. You've registered. You're training on a daily basis. You're putting 11 miles or 11 hours in the saddle. That's a lot. I've done that. That's
Yeah.
you really feel that at the end of the day. So you've made it real. And June 9th, you're going to take off. So I want to catch up with you at some point along the way.
Okay.
You can text me and let me know what that looks like, and I'll make the arrangements. But I want to follow your progress on this because I think it's fantastic. It's the first one of its kind from this organization. Get Some Cycling, I think it is,
Yep.
putting this race together, and I think people would be really interested in what it's like. I think everybody knows any bicycler who's done any touring knows what it's like to get from your first destination to your next destination. But, putting yourself on a time limit and, trying to hit some miles is a different thing. And I think a lot of people would like to understand how that worked, how it made you feel, um, how you felt at the end of the day, and what you've seen along the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm excited to find that out. One thing I will say, I think probably one of the biggest things that I have noticed is I've really enjoyed this part of the process, because it really is part of the race, is the whole training aspect. To me, I've always prepared for something, and I hate it because I got to get to the thing. And then I get to the thing and I'm like, well, it's over. And so I've really forced myself to enjoy the whole journey, the training, and just I'm forcing myself to stop on my bike and take pictures even on training days of things that I've seen 1,000 times, but they just look different now, so I think that's just an important thing, to just enjoy the journey.
I just interviewed a guy, Kevin O'Leary, who rode his bike from Silver City, New Mexico to Cancun on the Yucatan Peninsula, 2,900 miles. And I asked him, I said, what were some of the highlights that you recall? And he said, to me, the journey is the highlight. It's just the fact that you're doing it, that you're underway, that you're going someplace, that you're undertaking an epic journey. That's the highlight. And I think you just said that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it might be something to do with age. You start to slow down a little bit and think about the finer things. It's not we're not. You got to. My dad always said he'd always warn me. He would say, you have to. It's not the destination; it's the journey. You got to stop and smell the roses. So that's what I'm doing.
I agree 100%. It's not the destination, it is the journey. However, you have to make it to your destination
Yeah.
by the time planned, and I wish you the very best on that. So we will speak again to get some
Okay.
updates from you, and I applaud you for undertaking this effort. Thanks for your support of Small Miracles. I think that's fantastic. It takes a village to raise a child, as I think
Yeah.
you know,
Yep.
and you experienced in your childhood. So kudos to you. Good luck on the
Thank
ride,
you.
and let's stay in touch.
Okay, will do. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Greg. It was great
All right.
talking to you. Great meeting you, and
You too.
look forward to our next conversation.
100%. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.